Well, hello. How are you all today? And welcome to Integrative Preparedness. I'm Steve Smith. So, Texas Governor Abbott has declared an invasion of Texas from the south. That could have some very important implications. We're going to talk about that today. What happens next? Is this the next step towards secession? Don't think that can't happen, because it can, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Before we get into it any farther, remember that this, like all of our videos, are brought to you by the Stonemont series, the reversion, the revival, the renewal, an appeal to heaven, the blessings of freedom, and hostages to fortune. The complete series, the complete plan in novel form of how to prepare for, how to survive, and how to rebuild after a total collapse of everything. If you're serious about preparedness and you haven't read this series, this needs to be the very next thing you do. It's available. You can get it for Amazon. I'll put the links down below. Or you can get it through the Stonemont website. That's the best place to get it, because then I get to sign them for you. Stonemont.us. Okay. I was checking the comments and the member section over on the Patreon channel today. If you're not with us on Patreon, you're missing a lot. The link there is also down below. And there was something from Tom Usher talking about this situation, about the situation in Texas, the fact that Governor Abbott has declared an invasion. And he compared this to a Fort Sumter moment. Now, those of you who don't know what that means, those were the first shots officially fired by a state actor against another state actor at Fort Sumter, South Carolina. And that's what people think started that, what they call Civil War. It wasn't a Civil War at all. I'll get to that. I've been in that before. I write about it in my books. But he compared this, and he did an excellent job, and that's what inspired me to do this today. I'm going to read, and this could lead to the next bit. We've been wondering what's going to happen. Well, here we go. So I'm going to read just a couple of things. This comes from the Gateway Pundit. You can find it there. Those of you who are with us on Patreon, I'll post as I always do. Just a second. Sorry, had to cough. Still trying to get over this junk. As I always do, I'll post the link to this article on the Patreon when I put this on Patreon, so you can read it yourself. Abbott says the same. I officially declared an invasion at our border because of Biden's policies. We deployed the Texas National Guard, DPS, and local law enforcement. We are building a border wall, razor wire, and marine barriers. We are also repelling migrants. Now, why'd they have to do this? Because the federal government won't do it. That's one of the federal government's main responsibilities. They won't do it. We're going to get more to that in just a second, because they're not only failing to address their responsibility, they are actively engaged in activity that is harmful to states and to the citizens of the United States. It says Texas National Guard soldiers, Texas will continue to install more razor wire and fortify the border against illegal crossings. We will not back down, said Abbott in another X posting. That's the old Twitter, I guess. He says, another one from him, Texas installed razor wire in Eagle Pass to stop illegal crossings. Today, the Biden administration cut that wire, opening the floodgates to illegal immigrants. I immediately deployed more Texas National Guard to repel illegal crossings and install more razor wire. Okay, well now, a lot of people are saying, well, this is 2 years too late. Yeah, I could go along with that, but at least it's happening. Those of you who are students of that war they mistakenly call the Civil War understand what's going on. Some may not out there, because there are many more people who think they understand what that war was about than actually do. I'm sorry, you're just going to have to put up with with the coughs occasionally, because I'll be stopping this all the time. If you look at what brought that war to fruition, there was a history that went back 10 years before that. And what had happened was that a group of states finally came to the conclusion, after trying to deal with the federal government for a long time, they finally came to the conclusion that the federal government was not only not equally protecting their rights as states, but was actively working against them for the benefit of other states or other people. Okay? That's what brought about that war. And as a result, some of the southern states seceded, which was their right. And I explain that in detail in my books. A lot of people will say, well, it's not a right. Yes, it was. If you don't think it was their right, study more. They seceded, starting with 7 states, and then it became more. And they said, we're not going to be a part of this anymore. You are not satisfying your obligations to the states and the people of the United States. Therefore, we are no longer a part of you. We are separating ourselves as a divorce, and they established the Confederate States of America. Tom Usher does a very good job making comparisons on this. So like I say, if you're with us on Patreon, make sure that you go to the member section and member posts, I think it's called now, and read Tom's piece. If you're not with us on Patreon, you need to be there. You'll learn so much that's not on YouTube. The same thing is happening now. Texas has finally made this move. Now whether Abbott, and Tom makes this point, whether Abbott will stay strong on this and stand up to the federal government, we don't know. What we do know is that our federal government is doing everything it can to destroy our country, and to destroy certain parts of our country more than others. Now, when you finally accept that and realize that, and realize that this isn't a matter of them being stupid, this is a matter of them being smart. And it's a matter of them being able to do the very things they want to gain control and to destroy certain parts of our country. This is why the southern border is open. This is why they have not only allowed, but they've participated in bringing many more people. I mean, can you imagine that? The Texas puts up razor wire, and the feds go down and cut it to let more people in. What is that? You know what it is, okay? More and more states across our country are pushing back against the federal government. At first, it's going to be administratively. That's the way it started in that last war. No, we're going to do what you're not doing to protect our borders in our states. And then when the federal government comes down there and fights them, cuts their wire, fights them, and doesn't allow them to protect themselves against foreign invasion, when our government, not our country, but our government, those who have slimed their way into the positions of power, when they actively engage in efforts to destroy our country, we know what that is. And hopefully we know what that could lead to. What's going to happen down on the southern border, I think we're going to be able to tell what's going to happen in the next 6 months. I don't know. I mean, we're coming into things are really going to heat up after January, because then people are going to be thinking about the next presidential election. But Abbott has done well in making this declaration. Now we'll see whether he sticks by it or not. And when it gets to the point, if it gets to the point to where Texas National Guard and DPS and local law enforcement are trying to secure that border, and then feds come down and try to keep them from doing that, that could be a Fort Sumter moment. If you don't know what Fort Sumter was all about, most people don't. I've explained it in my books. I'm not going to go into it here, because every time I get into too much here, I get some guy who took a high school history course from somebody who didn't know telling me that I'm all wrong. Study what happened at Fort Sumter. Study what led up to that war of northern aggression. Study what brought that war about to where the federal government of the United States of America attacked and invaded another sovereign country, the Confederate States of America, South Carolina. You see, each one of those states was a sovereign state. And Lincoln called for 70,000 troops to invade what was now an independent and sovereign country, to force them to stay within the Union. That could be something, well, I was going to say something to watch, something to see. Yeah, it would be. But it's going to be far more dangerous than a lot of people think, I think. And for those people who think that it couldn't happen, I'd simply say, study history more. You will see that history is replete with examples of these things happen. People have wondered, how far will people be pushed? Individually, it doesn't matter. You know, the individual can pop up here and resist and over here resist and all. It doesn't matter. That has no effect on anything. When a state resists, when multiple states come together and resist, now you have, well, the seeds of war. What kind of war that will be, we don't know. But prepare for this. Realize what happens. I know I've talked about this a few times before. What happens in the case of a civil war? There's no telling. There is no telling. And the thing you have to do, the only way you can be prepared, is to prepare in every way you can, as much as you can. You should be self-sufficient now. You should not have to rely on any outside services. If you do, start working towards being able to separate yourself from those. And even then, doesn't mean that you're going to be insulated for what may come. Because when these things happen, they can suck up everybody into it. Okay, that's all I wanted to say. This action in Texas is going to tell us a lot. But don't wait until it continues to evolve. Prepare now. Join us over on Patreon. You'll learn so much over there. I started calling that the Preparedness Academy, because we have so many smart people over there giving so much great information. Remember the Stonemont series, available in Amazon or I put the links down below through our website, stonemont.us. I get to sign them for you that way. That's the best way I like to do it, because I love my relationship with my readers. And get out there and prepare. Realize that this can happen, and it may be happening right now. Remember to prepare well today, because we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. And I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.